Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Well, it's not easy to add something on the scenario after the introduction of the distinguished speaker before me. I fully share the view that they described on the scenario. I think that the increasing instability, geopolitical instability that you also described yesterday, I think that they are pointing out that whenever we have increased instability in geopolitics, we also have an increasing concern in security of supply. This is something that has been very well described before. And we said that, and we heard that the solution to the security of supply is not one solution, one technology, is a path toward diversification. And we spoke about different sources of energy. And we haven't mentioned that diversification of sources and energy also goes through diversification of infrastructures. And this is what we call for and we do. An example has been mentioned also in Bulgaria, then George will speak about it, but IGI Poseidon contributed as a shareholder of IGB, and that's an example of building infrastructure for diversification. And of course, what we see is that the same strong strategic rationale for security of supply has to be applied to the East Med area, because it appears clear, at least to me, but it is clear that the missing energy corridor currently in the Mediterranean Sea is the one connecting the East Med area to Europe. This is the call, the strategic rationale that we see in developing an energy corridor from East Med area to Europe, of course, as Greece in the middle and arriving to Italy, in our view. I think that it's important to call it energy corridor, because we know that this started to be a gas pipeline as the beginning, but it's not only a matter of building a pipeline. It's a matter of building an energy interconnection. It's a matter of building an industrial interconnection between countries. So it's again about what has been mentioned many times about cooperation in the area. And I think that energy is a tool and is becoming more and more a tool for cooperation. But of course, in my perspective, and more on the business and industry side, it's also a commercial option, because we see that the East Med area has a huge potential for gas. We heard this morning that the timing for developing this potential is not that long, at least it's shrinking. And also from the export perspective, I think that having a diversified basket of opportunities for exporting the resources is key. And the interconnection is key for two additional points. The first one is that when we see instability, we see that interconnection is also a tool for mutual benefit and mutual support. So we have heard about reverse flow. When we build an infrastructure, the infrastructure is usually one way, but can be used the other way around in case of instability, in case of needs. And this could be or happens to be more and more important in the scenario that we are unfortunately seeing in the last years. The second point is that the same infrastructure can be thought to be consistent with the path toward decarbonization and energy transition. We started to think about this project many years ago. It was a gas project at the beginning. It's not the same picture now, because the scenario around us has changed. So the project that we are building is going to be a project ready to transport also green gases, and therefore hydrogen. And we know that, again, there is a huge potential in the East Med area to produce cheap green gas and cheap hydrogen, and therefore the same infrastructure and the future of infrastructure is to build a connection, an interconnection that will be potentially now important for security of supply of fossil fuels, and in the future an option, an opportunity to open up the transportation of hydrogen. So I think it definitely has to be consistent with the strategy of energy transition, but we have to consider that energy transition has a timing, and to arrive to the right target of decarbonization, we have also to take care of sustainability from the security perspective on one hand and economic sustainability on the other. And I will just comment on this before leaving the floor.
Very briefly.
We mentioned about the cost of energy and the support, because you asked about the support of Europe. We know that Europe last year spent around 800 billion euros in order to support final customer, to protect the final customer over the spikes of energy prices. And of course, the more diversified we create the energy system, the more infrastructure we create the energy system, the more we create stability, and the more we can also mitigate. Of course, we can just contribute to mitigate this price spiking. So the cost of infrastructuring the system is probably an effort that the system can afford compared to the cost that the instability can create on the system.